the days where you feel so, I was crying, literally having emotional breakdowns because I could not achieve the level of success that I didn't even want. I would sit there and perform and perform and perform, and I would ask myself, why am I doing this? Welcome back to NTheRealestWay Podcast by Marqes Smith, where we talk about so many topics in the realest way. On this podcast episode, I want to talk about the importance of nothing is too important. And when I say that, I don't mean in terms of everything that you do on a daily basis. What I'm talking about is everything, including that, but not in the way that you're thinking it is. When I say nothing is too important, I mean we give so much of our lives meaning in things that truly, not that they don't matter, but we give it too much power. We allow it to consume us too much. And a lot of people go the route of assuming that I'm talking about not allowing success to be recognized, that if you achieve something great, that, it's not important enough, so don't even acknowledge it. What I mean is, it is in regards to the good things, but also the bad things. And I'm going to go further in depth with what I mean. But let's start with a couple of examples that happened in my life. I was in high school and I was diligently and consistently practicing on a daily basis for other people, for approval. As you probably can surmise from how I say that, you can assume that the reason why I was doing it was coming from an unhealthy place, which means that everything in regards to that is going to show up in an unhealthy way. That goes to my mental health and deeper into not allowing myself to make mistakes, allowing myself to destroy everything that I created because I made significant moments in my life too important in terms of the longevity of it all, right? Because we look at things in the moment and we're like, I don't think I could ever get through this. This is something that's going to haunt me for the rest of my life. I'm going to deal with this forever. But when we think about it, a couple months down, years down, we realize that these significant moments that happened in our lives, they weren't as significant as we thought they were. We give a lot of things a lot of power, and that gives it the strength to continue to grow and to continue to keep happening. I'm still dealing with the issues of wanting to be a people pleaser in that way of, I want you to see my worth. I want you to see all that I could do. You can see it showing up in ways of trauma. An example is you were with family and you didn't get enough attention or enough love. So you went out and you found other ways to receive gratification, acceptance and attention. That was my way of doing that. Looking for people in ways to where I was applauded for my effort. And when I wasn't good enough, I destroyed myself. I made a not so significant moment. But of course it matters. But I gave it so much power to where it destroyed my mental health. It destroyed my physical and it destroyed my spiritual. But I want to talk about an example that I heard from somebody on TikTok. They were I would say an extreme, bodybuilder where they worked out every single day, but they had a really nice physique. I mean, it was really good, really, really good, really fit. I would say it was up in the, out of 1 to 10, he was up there. Like, it wasn't like a 4 or a 3, right? Some people say, oh, I go to the gym, but do you really go to the gym? You could tell that he went to the gym, but he was looking at people that he deemed was better than him. And he took a not so significant feeling of insecurity and allowed it to amplify his entire life. So then he started looking at everything that he did as insignificant, and he continued to bring himself down. And you know what happens when you allow yourself to bring down everything that you worked to make possible. He entered a state of depression, and he was filled with so much anxiety because he found himself trying to relate in a way that didn't truly matter. It didn't. And once he couldn't achieve the level of physique or the level of performance that he wanted, it destroyed him. And everything that he built, so he built it. It all went crashing down. Everything. And that example is so important because he let a not so significant moment destroy everything that he had created. And yes, we can go back and reflect on the other podcast episodes. He had to have a breaking point. It's not like he woke up and he was like, oh yeah, I'm just going to start comparing myself. Of course, that's how you would think it would happen. But a lot of these things are deeply rooted. They're really deep, and it's like they show up in small ways, and they continue to show up, and maybe they're big, maybe they're little, but they show up. He didn't know that these things were happening until it happened, and he had to break in order to find really why he was doing it. I find myself having to carry everything of who I am everywhere I go. It's exhausting having to take all of who you are every second of every day. Fully be conscious of what I'm doing. It is so draining, but it's important, not just for me in checking myself and making sure I'm okay and saying, hey, Smith, how are you showing up and what are you doing for yourself, but for other people too? Because there's been moments when I wasn't fully aware of what I was doing, and I was lashing out, and I wasn't in tune with how I was actually feeling. And that goes into the level of just pausing, allowing a moment to be a moment, to understand that everything, almost everything, it doesn't matter when it comes to your peace. I was listening to Tiana Taylor talking about going where she feels loved and where she matters and where she's wanted, not where the flowers are, where the applause is. Nothing is too important for your mental health. Nothing is too important for the days where you feel so, I was crying, literally having emotional breakdowns because I could not achieve the level of success that I didn't even want. I would sit there and perform and perform and perform, and I would ask myself, why am I doing this? And I could never give myself an answer. Why? Because the way I went about creativity was the problem. It all goes down to internal work of how am I feeling and what am I doing, and am I healing what I need to heal? We are the vessel of which our body communicates to the world. It could be verbally, non-verbally. You could be playing an instrument or singing or speaking. You couldn't be doing anything of that. You can just be moving your body. There's art everywhere. And whether you believe it or not, we're all creatives. We all create art. We're all beautiful and we create art. But if we don't do that internal work of sitting down and understanding that I can pause and understand that this isn't important enough for me to allow it to break me. There was another example when this woman was saying she had a ring on her finger and she would twist it 3 times. And in that moment, she would be thinking about, what is the significance of me doing this and how do I feel about it? And I forget exactly what she said, but there was this example. And then in terms of resentment, choosing to disappoint people or choosing the resentment afterwards. Choose to disappoint people, especially when it comes to your mental health. You don't have to do everything that people want you to do. You should do what you want to do. And that's enough. That's enough for everybody else. Pausing. It's not too important. It's not too important. It's crucial, especially in the climate that we live in today, where a lot of things are going on. There's so much going on. It's so important that we allow ourselves to have grace. That grace is so important. And to go back on wanting to feel important. It really, I really want people to go through life and really understand, how are you feeling? I was going my entire high school career thinking that I was doing the damn thing. Like I was untouchable and so strong, and every time something knocked me down, I got back up, and I was so resilient that I could do anything and I can do anything. But nothing is too important for when I have to break down and when I go back into my room and I have to sit with myself. A lot of the climate of the world all goes down to what's going on in our mind and what do we need, whether physically, mentally, or spiritually. What do we need? Our body is going to reach for it in whatever way that it can. That goes for relationships, of romantic relationships. If there's no self-love, you're going to continue finding yourself wanting people to respect you and love you, but it will never be enough because you're not enough for yourself. I was talking to my friend today and I applaud anybody who's trying to better themselves and consistently grow. There's power in that. Because a lot of us, we don't even want to try anymore. For whatever reason, we feel like none of this matters. But there's a difference between none of this matters and nothing is too important. None of this matters means you already threw in the towel. You don't know what kind of success could happen from making a small decision of just trying. Nothing is too important means that you can try to do anything that you believe that you could do. But what's the intention behind what you're doing? I ask myself that every time I create content. I ask myself that today. My entire life has found itself revolved around content creation. And I find myself asking, why do I do this? Every time a podcast episode is created, I feel like I've been brought anew, that this is my first time ever creating a podcast. This version of me is not the version of me that I created the last podcast episode. You may say similar things. It may be like, oh, well, you're saying the same thing you said a couple of podcast episodes before, but it's not the same. I'm not the same person. I had to ask myself every day about why, because the why is really, really important. You can say none of this matters and you can say nothing is too important, but why? Why is it that way? Okay. So I talked to my friend, I wanted her to understand that when you want to pursue a level of success, your mindset and how you go about it is really important, because you could have the sternest motivation in wanting to have a certain outcome out of your life. And you could be really serious about it. But if everything that goes into it, all of the energy is coming from a hateful experience, especially when it comes to creativity, especially when it comes to wanting to change something in your life, understand that everything that you're feeding into it is going to come back out. It's going to come back out. But when we give love and we give patience, we give our time and we give everything of who we are, we really give it all. That's when we can see the beauty of it out of that pain. I had those seasons of disappointment, of truly feeling like everything that I did was too important, but it wasn't important enough. And I don't want anybody to go through what I went through. The constant beating down of myself, telling myself I didn't matter, that this is so important, I told myself that a lot of these things were too important and that I wasn't important enough to handle them. That I didn't understand why these people wanted me to be all of what they wanted me to be in an unhealthy way. So I defeated and beated myself down. But there's been moments when I realized that I was going about it wrong. I remember one time there was a audition, a competition, and I went in there with my damaged lips, bleeding and truly in pain, and played the best I could play. I mean, I tried my best. And I walked out and I was like, okay, I did the best I could. I really did the best I could. And then the person who was waiting after me, they went in there and they played it, and it was beautiful. And when I say there was jealousy there, it wasn't in the way that you would think it was. It's just that I wanted to go about creativity in a healthy way, like they did. You know, I understand that a lot of the resources that I wanted, they had, but that's not why truly they played so well. It was because they didn't allow their entire life to be poured in with this is too important for me, and that I don't even need to think about myself in terms of relatability. That my self-worth is at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to what other people want me to do. I'm just thinking about a lot of moments when I sabotaged my own self. I brought myself down. I can think about when I was in social studies, or it was some history, I believe, history class, and we were talking about a lot. We were going through a lot, and I didn't want to make mistakes. I didn't want to lose my credibility. So I asked a lot of questions. The teacher I had somewhat good intentions to where she would lash out at some points when I asked too many questions, that a lot of things need to be done from experience. And in her own way, she was teaching me that I don't need to have perfect grades, or I don't need to be this perfect person if I truly am afraid of doing things by myself, that I can't make a mistake. If I could go back in time and I could heal truly and go through it all again, I would go through it in a better and healthier way for myself. And that's not to say I would change it, but if I had the correct tools to heal myself, I would have done it differently. I would have told myself that I mattered. And if I circle B because I think it's B and I truly believe that, I'm not going to second guess myself when it comes to my worth. Now I'm comfortable with choosing to be wrong in order to be right in the end. Right with myself. Okay with myself. Do you understand that? When you go to sleep, you close your eyes, or you're alone with your own thoughts, you're going to have to answer for that. It's going to take a toll on you. That's why I created the film. I created The Energy Price, because it was so important for myself that I understood the toll that content creation had on me, and the way that I was pouring into it was unhealthy. So I needed a physical, visual example of what I was doing to myself. And it was liberating to see it go from what was confusing and difficult to visually seeing what I was doing to myself. But I created the film and I recorded the conflict, and then I found the resolution. And I understood a lot more about content creation and how living in my truth, regardless of whatever version I am, is so important. So let's whatever it is that you need to do in order to heal and check in with yourself, whether it's writing or just sitting in your room meditating, and whatever you need to do, you can do it. Whatever works for you, it works for you. Who am I to say what you need to do and do that way? I can only advise people from the experiences that I had. You know, I'm living a life just like other people. And before I close out this podcast episode, I want to go back and really just understand the main points of this. Nothing is too important. It's not the same of. The same is none of this matters. It's not. Those are two different things. Understanding that the good experiences, regardless, the good experiences, they are really important. I achieved a lot of things in my life. I accomplished a lot of things. But it's not going to break me. An example is I could make a video that got 1 million views and then expect the next video to get 2 million views, or at least 1 million views again, but it gets 2. It gets 2 views. Is it that important that I bring myself down to a level of what did I do wrong? And am I not good enough anymore? And then you find yourself pushing a narrative of I can't be enough into everything that you create. I would rather continue creating content and posting these little tiny snippets and getting 200 views, 300 views, 4 likes, 9 likes, no likes, until I truly am okay with myself and being okay with when I put something out. It can get as many views as it wants. But if that one person can relate and it could help them, that's what matters. Nothing is too important. You are too important. You matter so much. You don't even understand how much you matter, how much you give to the world. You give so much. You mean so much. Never forget that. No matter how many people, no matter what society tells you that you need to do in order to be what they want you to be, that if you want to achieve a certain thing, that you got to lose a part of yourself in order to do it. You say to hell with that. And you continue the authentic way. The people who have become successful and it took a longer time is because sometimes it's not your time. And you're going to show up when it's time for you to show up. You're still going through some things. You're still dealing with some things, and that's okay. It ain't your time yet. I had to realize that this is just a part of my season of preparation. I'm always preparing myself and I'm always checking myself. Nothing is more important than my relationship with myself and God. Because at the end of the day, when I close my eyes, my mental health is going to be the one that's going to answer and ask for the toll of the price of what I'm doing. That's why a lot of people are going through what they're going through. But I want you to know that you matter. You matter. So like I say at the end of every podcast episode, I give thanks to the utmost, to the highest power God. I'm thankful for my friends and my family. I am truly, truly grateful. This is NTheRealestWay Podcast. Out.